Hey, this is Dunigan Does Diabetes. I just do these randomly. I just got back from the American Diabetes Association annual scientific sessions this year held in Chicago, Illinois, June, I forget what days it was, 19th, 20, 21, 22, something like that, and Monday the 22nd, maybe it was. Anyway, some fascinating things going on, of course. Couple of new pumps, Twist by Sequel, Beta Bionics with their continued launch efforts. What else am I thinking about? There was lots of different things. Anyway, Tandem is getting some new press with their Control IQ Plus, I think it's called, and also their ability to use Abbott's Libre products will be Libre 3 plus. I can't keep track of these numbers and pluses and all that other jazz, so bear with me. But I will say this, and also a lot of the sensors, Dexcom and Libre, and then some other sensors in the world. I didn't really look around too much because it's so U.S. focused for most of the companies in the audience. I'm a little perplexed, quite frankly, because as a person having lived with diabetes for 52 years, it's remarkable to me that companies make these great technologies, really fascinating technologies, and they assume that they're the only thing in the world that we're living with. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're going to live from my continuous sensor. You're going to live from my insulin infusion product. You're going to live from my algorithm. It's quite fascinating, and I guess I just have a little bit of worn out perspective as a user. But let me give you one example of what I think is just fascinating to me, and I could be completely off base. So please, in the comments, let me know if I'm completely off my rocker. But here it is. So now we have sensors that will soon last a minimum of 14 days and potentially 15 days from various companies. I'll let you figure it out because most of you probably already know who those are. Mostly either Abbott or Dexcom, two pretty good products. And Eversense, which is a year-long product, I'm assuming that has the same issue I'm about to address. And the issue is this. Okay, if you're using an insulin pump, whether it be a pod type like Insulet's or the new Mobi by Tandem, or any of the other pumps that have a catheter with them, we have to change the site a minimum of 3 days, sometimes 2 days, depending on if your sites wear out. As you get to be older, you tend to run out of sites. So we're changing the site every 3 days. The sensor is going to be on one arm predominantly, for me anyways. It's going to be on one arm for 14. I currently have one that's 10, but it'll soon be 14 or 15 days. And in that 10 to 15 day period, I have to keep my insertion sites on the same side unless I want to wear a catheter that's really, really long to the pump, where the pump, that the pump has to be on the same side as the continuous sensor. Anybody tracking with me here? Now, I've written about this in a few social media sites, but the issue is this. Bluetooth apparently will not cross water barriers. And if the body's considered 70% water or 75% water, and you're as big as I have been getting, not great for an actor, by the way. But anyway, if you're, putting the sensor is keeping on one side and you have your pump on another side, you're getting all these not registering. Now, I happen to use the Dexcom, so the Dexcom sensor itself to my phone, no problem. The phone picks it up regardless, right? But the pump that I have, I use a Mobi, and this happened with the X2 as well, and it happened with Insulet and the pods as well, is it will blank out if it happens to be that I put an insertion set on the other side. After all these technologies, after 40 to 50 years of significant things that happened in 10 and 15-year periods. We went from urine testing for the first, I don't know, 40 or 50 years since they had it, from the late 1920s and 30s and up until the 70s. And then we had blood glucose monitoring early on somewhere in the mid 70s, late 70s, all the way through the 80s, when it was, test strips and things like that. That took about, I don't know, a good solid 20 years to transition really to blood glucose monitoring, especially for type 1 folks, to here in the U.S. to using blood glucose monitoring, where urine testing sort of is passé, except for ketone testing in the urine. And then we've evolved into continuous monitoring, and it's still evolving, so that, and this is transition of payment levels and insurance coverage and everything else. Type 2s don't need that. Same old arguments from going from urine testing to blood glucose monitoring, and blood glucose monitoring to continuous glucose monitoring, blah, blah, blah. So the next generation of things, who knows what we'll really get to. It might be that implantables will be here, and my prediction is 10 years will be early ones, 15, maybe more people was like, the cure is better than the disease, versus right now, some of the cures are worse than living with it. My point about the sensor and the pump is, I have to be cognizant of so many different factors that fit my lifestyle, right? And I just think it's kind of silly. You can't tell me, with all these very, very smart people out, and with the millions of people that have diabetes worldwide, that and a lot of areas that can afford technologies, and then it evolves for areas of the world that maybe don't have as many resources as we do. It just behooves me that some smart person hasn't figured out how to keep a sensor on a really long time and not have it have to worry about, or have the pump technology or insertion sets have to worry about the orientation to that sensor. It's a headache. It's a really big headache. Something I don't want to have to worry about. I want to put it on and not worry about it. And now with the pump company saying, well, with AI, we can take care of it for you. Well, what happens now with the sensor not really popping in? Come on, people. You can't tell me that it's my fault. All right, I'm going to finish there, but I'm going to add one more thing. I sat with someone, a very dear friend. I consider this person a very dear friend, a clinician, a researcher in diabetes, also living with diabetes a very long time. And we had a disclosure, and I was talking about, I miss, now that the pumps will shut your pump off while you're eating a snack for a low blood sugar, and then, you tend to overeat. I know, I should be more disciplined, but often you overeat a little bit, or you want to continue your activity, and so the pump has shut the insulin off, and so you rebound all the way to the other side. And then you're like, okay, I got to take more insulin to catch up with that. And then it's like a bad cycle. Yeah, I'm a living example of that. In the days when I was taking regular insulin 3 times a day and MPH twice a day, MPH, I could figure that out. It came and it peaked at 2 periods of the day and night that really helped me. It was easier to predict, and if I had a low during exercise, I would eat for the exercise, therefore not getting as many calories, and I would have this sort of soft landing for the reduction in my glucose. And boy, I miss those days. Well, I shared that with this person who has not on a pump. This person has 97% of their results in time in range. Can you believe this? I was looking at their app for their sensor. 97% in range almost all the time. And they take micro doses of fast-acting insulin along with 2 doses of MPH. They take 1 in the morning and then 1 at night. This person, I won't say their gender, but basically take 2 units or 1 unit. And they like to exercise late in the day, so they tend to have some lows during sleep. And they've been thinking that maybe a pump would help them with that. Well, I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback on this. I don't think so, because this person is microdosing. It's not inconvenient, except that having diabetes is inconvenient. They're masterful at it, and you can't argue with 97% time in range, whatever their range was. I'm assuming it was below 180, 70 to 180, or maybe it was 70 to 150, because they could be that tight. I'm 78%, 80%, good enough, I guess, right? Well, I don't know. It's like going back to old school, but you have to be really, really disciplined and watch all those numbers all day long. So I know this person happens to be single and really dedicated to their work, and has a good life, I know. But, like all of us who are doing our best to deal with diabetes so that we can tackle the rest of our lives. In other words, the priority is the rest of our lives, not the diabetes. Where we want to get all the things we need to do to get done with it in order that we have a normalcy of life. Knowing that we have to anticipate lows or very high blood sugars and have all these backup systems. But it just dawned on me that, low tech is not necessarily bad tech. So, and the debate was, this person was inquiring, do you think I should go on a pump? My endo says, and this person is an endocrinologist, by the way. This person said, my endo, of course they have their own doctor as well, said, I don't think you need one. And what do you think? And I was like, well, there's a transition. If you go on one, you can you can achieve the same thing. I don't know if it might be easier or harder, quite frankly. All the companies are going to tell you, oh, it's no problem. This will be ideal. I don't know, because the other thing that's a benefit relating to everything I've just talked about by having to put insertion sites in every 3 days is that on multiple injections, you can rotate your insulin delivery every day in multiple sites. I don't think I've used my arms in a long, long time. I am not interested in putting in an insertion set onto my arms. I haven't done it for 20 years. But when I need a little bolus syringe with my InPen, I lean up against the wall, get it in. All these other sites are kind of overused, right? After 52 years with type 1 diabetes. So I don't know if I'm making any sense. I hope I am. But anyway, I hope you like my shirt from Chicago. And I hope all of you are really doing well, whether you have type 1 or type 2 or gestational diabetes or pre-diabetes. Eat healthy, stay active, find a friend that might have diabetes or a peer. It's always good to bounce things off, just like this person who's, again, I feel like is a dear person to me. And when I get a chance to sit and talk with them, it's so helpful. It's so helpful to test each other's sanity with living with it, and to have a sense of humor about things, and to call out bullshit, BS when you see it. Anyway, God bless you all. Cheers.